How's it going, guys? Mike here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and welcome back to another product opening video. Today we're going to be looking at the newly released Date A Live Volume 2 set. Now, Date A Live Volume 2 is kind of cool in that it actually features material from both Season 2 and Season 3 of Date A Live. So as you guys can see here on this case topper playmat, on the left side we have the key visual for Season 2, on the right side we have the key visual for Season 3. So as usual, we're going to be opening two boxes, taking a look at what we pull, noting some of the cool cards, the powerful cards, the flavorful cards, and anything else that I might want to bring up. And hopefully we can pull something cool alongside the journey. So let's get right into it. Date A Live 2 is a pretty standard set, so we have 100 base rarity cards plus parallels, 10 double rare sets, so in a case of boxes of 18 boxes, you do expect to pull around 2 play sets. And in every case, we expect to pull 3 signature cards. So let's take a look at the PR first. There's 5 PRs in this set. We'll take a look at all of them. We're opening 2 boxes, so we're only pulling 2 PRs, but anything that we don't pull, we will go through at the end of the video. So we have this 1-0 Toka, which on play, we can pay 1 and tap 2 of our Data Celestial Spare characters to draw a card. Now, a lot of the cards in this set, just to preface, they do refer to Data Celestial Spare characters. Now, given that basically the entire cast and the entire set is State and Celestial Spirit traded, from now on I will probably just refer to them as characters instead of traded characters, because basically the entire set hits on them. So that's our PR, and let's start cracking. So, a pretty standard set, so we're going to have 4 to 5 commons, 2 to 3 uncommons, a rare, a climax, and then we're going to have our wild slot card, which is usually on the 5th slot. We'll go over the cool cards, and then we're not going to go over every card, but I'll go over any cards that I find to be worth talking about. Alright, so first we have this Kurumi, which spawns to a really interesting origami, and we'll get to that if we pull it, but otherwise this doesn't really have that much of a purpose. Kind of a weird card, kind of a weirdly designed card, honestly. Okay, so first pack, we already have our first double rare. This is the level 1 double rare Gabrielle Miku. During our turn, if we have another character, she gets 1500 power, and then climax combo on attack. If we have another character, we can discard a card to look at up to the top 4 cards of our deck, add up to 2 Data Celestial Spare characters, and then mill the rest of our deck. So this effect is very similar to, if you guys are familiar with the Bane Dream level 1 Nanami Choice. The Nanami Choice has to discard a character, she can look at top 5, but the Miku can discard anything, which is pretty useful given that her climax is on a pants. So if you have extra flooded climaxes, you can get rid of them and at the same time accelerate through your deck to comfortably get through your first deck and into a refresh, so your next deck is more compressed. So if you guys are looking for something that has deck speed and also that doesn't rely on reverses, then this Miku may be your choice. Okay, and then our first rare is this level 2 Natsumi. So this level 2 Natsumi, she has one effect where you can rest this card to give one of your characters 1k cross turn. And then if you're level 3, she also has a auto effect where at the beginning of her main phase, you can bounce her back to your hand to play any character from your hand on the stage that on the position that this card was on. So you can play this at level 2 to start giving one of your characters 1000 cross turn, and then when you get to level 3, it essentially acts as a 1 stock efficiency tool. You only pay 1 stock for this card, but then in return you get to play a level 3 from your hand. So if you are in a stock crunch, or if you wanted to like dedicate some resources to your level 3 game beforehand, you can play this, and then at level 2, and then later on, it basically pays for your level 3 up front, which is kind of an interesting effect. Okay, next pack. So we have this level 0 Shido, which On play, you can discard a character to search your deck for a 1/0 Miku. The Miku is... I have it here. The Miku is a twin driver. And then the Miku gets 1000 continuous if you have 2 or more other characters on attack twin drive, pay 1. So this Shido allows you to discard a character to search your deck for the 1/0 Miku, and then during your turn, if Shido is on the board, or Shiori is on the board, then the Shiori gives the Miku 2000 continuous, pumping her up to 7k. Okay, we have our first foil. We have this 3/2 origami. Now this card is actually pretty... I think this card is pretty fun to build around. So the effects of this origami, she has a couple of them. 4 or more, -1 level. And then if she's in your front row, center stage, then she gives all of your characters 1500 power, including herself. Now she is 9k base, so if she's in the front row, she'll be naturally 10-5. And then climax combo with a stock soul. On attack, pay 1, and then she gets the following ability until the end of your opponent's next turn, where when she reverses your battle opponent, you can burn 1. Now, because the effect lasts cross turn, she'll be able to burn once on the offense when she reverses your opponent's character, and then on the swing back, if your opponent has a lower character crash into origami, you'll get to burn 1 again. So the effect of her pumping all your characters 15 is pretty synergistic with her climax combo, especially if you have multiple copies of the origami that you can early play. Her early pick condition isn't necessarily the most easy to play multiples of, since it is a 4 or more, but there are some ways that you can kind of make it a bit more efficient to play multiple origamis, which we'll talk about later when we get to the card in question. But in the meantime, this is a good way for you to start applying really heavy pressure at level 2 and start burning multiple instances of 1 per climax combo as long as you can get those reverses off. Okay, next we have a 3/2 Yuzuru. Now this 3/2 Yuzuru has an entire package basically around her, and it's the basis of basically the 8-win Yamai sisters deck. So I want to talk about all of those cards together. So let's take a look at that package once we're done with this pack. But in the meantime, we have this level 0 Kaguya, which is a tap 2 search brainstorm. And then on play, if we have 2 or more others, then we can draw 1, discard 1. And then for our rare, this level 0 Miku, during our opponent's turn, our center position gets 1k. And then she allows you to sack herself when one of your characters is put into the waiting room to bring that character back as rested. So it's kind of like a pseudo encore effect. So she's meant to be placed in the back row. Gives your front middle character 1000 during opponent's turn, and then if you have something useful like a level 1 climax combo you want to just recur again, then this basically acts as another copy of your level 1 climax combo. So this strategy is kind of reminiscent of what Kobayashi's Maid Dragon does with this level 1 Toru bar combo alongside the poolside Kobayashi. This is kind of like the same concept. So for example, if we can easily just have this Miku save one of these Mikus, and then we get to climax combo with the level 1 Miku again, without the need of trying to salvage her back from a waiting room. Okay, so let's take a look at the Yamai package, basically. So we have this level 2 Kaguya, which is a stock bomb, anti-level stock bomb, and then on play, if we have 2 or more other characters, we can pay 1, discard a character, to summon any one of these level 3s from our waiting room. So the level 3s in question, we have the Yuzuru that we just pulled alongside the level 3 Kaguya, and they kind of work in tandem. So the level 3 Yuzuru is a assist. She gives 2k power to characters in front. On play, if we have 4 or more characters, we can put the top card of our deck into stock, and this is on play from hand or from the effect of the level 2 Kaguya. If we have 4 or more characters, our opponent's characters cannot be returned to their hand by our win effects. Now, you might be thinking, wait, that's just a demerit. Well, it is a demerit, but it's made up for the fact that her last effect says, when your character's trigger check reveals a win climax, if you have 4 or more characters, then you can choose one of your opponent's characters and top deck it. So it basically replaces the win trigger of bouncing it back to their hand to bouncing it to the top of their deck. So it's way better than wind, right? With the wind trigger, you bounce your opponent's character back to hand. They get a +1. They can replay next turn if they really want. But if you have the Yuzuru on board and you trigger wind, then you start top decking your opponent's board. Not only do they not get that +1 anymore, but you also have a much higher chance of dealing or sticking that damage, because that character is just on the top card of the deck, which means it's guaranteed to be the first card that they're going to take for damage processing. So this is a super cracked support, basically the foundation of the 8-wind Twins deck, or Sisters deck. The Kaguya, the other target that can be summoned by the 2-1, is on play, heal from hand or from the effect of the Kaguya 2-1. And then Climax combo with the wind. If you have 4 more others characters, look at up to the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Choose up to 2 among them, put them on the top of your deck, top of their deck, mill the rest, and then during this card's attack, you get to trigger twice. So Mocha your opponent's deck for 2, and then you get 2 triggers, which basically just, you want to trigger those wins. You want to be super aggressive with trying to hit as many wins as possible, because not only does it -1 for your opponent, but also it's just easy way to try to guarantee some good damage there. So you want to try to have like these alongside each other, and then you'll get to play the climax, and then you trigger 3 to 4 times, or 4 to 5 times depending on how many of the Kaguya you have, and it'll really mess your opponent's day up, especially if they're playing a standby deck. So in this set, there's a good amount of kind of cards that refer to each other, so when it comes time, I will bring up the relevant packages. Not all of them are super relevant. I think the Yuzuru and Kaguya level 3 package was like the one that required the most explanation, basically. Okay, we have this 1/1 Kurumi counter. It's a Lifa counter, so when we play the counter, or when we play the backup, reveal the top card of our deck, and then if it's a Daedal Celestial Spirit character, add it to your hand and discard a card. So if you want to have a chance of trying to cancel your damage, top check allows you to mill the top card of his character, basically. Okay, so this Natsumi is the card that I was referring to that might synergize pretty well with the level 3 Origami. So she has 2 effects. When your other character is attacked, you can send her to Waiting Room to give that character 15. This effect is largely not relevant for the purpose of what I wanted to bring up. It's her second effect that is relevant, where she has Startup. You can discard a card and send her to Waiting Room to salvage any Daedal Celestial Spirit character. This is the kind of quote-unquote efficient way to play multiple Origamis. You can play 4 characters, one of which is the Natsumi. Let's assume this is our board. And then you can early play the Origami. Then we activate the Natsumi effect to salvage something else we want, maybe even another copy of the Origami from Waiting Room. This opens our board up for the early play for more condition again, without having to hard overplay one of our characters. And then we can play another 3/2 Origami. So we might have 2 on the board now, and they can both be 12k before any other calculations. So this, if you do want to play an Origami level 3 base build, I think this card is definitely a good 2 to 3 of in your deck. Okay, we have this counter here. It's a pretty cool counter. 2/1, choose one of your characters, they get 1500 power. And also the following effect, where during that card's battle, if your opponent gets reversed, you can burn 1. So speaking of burn 1s, if we use it on the Origami, for example, we can, on reverse, burn 1 twice. So Origami's all about the burn 1s. Origami's all about trying to protect herself. So maybe this counter can help you get over that counter threshold, and also at the same time, get extra instance of burn down. Pretty cool counter. Okay, this level 0 Origami uncommon is what we call a JC in the community. When one of our other characters is front attack, we can pay 1, send her to Waiting Room to bounce that character that's getting attacked back to hand. This is a good way to kind of proactively be very aggressive at level 0 with tri-laning without as much risk in losing your entire board and not catching up in resources, because you essentially attack 3 times, and then on your opponent's turn, when they want to respond to your characters, you can save one of your characters with 1 stock by sacrificing the origami. So essentially you get to attack 3 times, but you only use 2 characters worth of resources to do so. This also allows you to play any good on-play effects to recur. Now do be careful, because they can always hard remove your origami first, and then your other 2 lanes are pretty vulnerable. But if you do want a good way to kind of make sure you can maybe recur climax combo like the Miku, definitely consider the origami in your deck. Okay, and then our rare here is a 1/0 Miku. 5k if we have 2 more other Data Life or Data Celestial Spirit, and then on attack, pay 1 Twin Drive. Now this Miku does have a Bonder in this level 0 Shiori. The level 0 Shiori is on play, we can discard a character to search our deck for the level 1 Miku, and then during our turn, the Shiori gives all of our Mikus 2k power, so she goes up to 7k. But otherwise, if you did want just something that is pretty no strings attached Twin Drive, this is a good way to pay out those extra dirty stock that you might trigger in the middle of your attack phase. Alright, on to our next pack. We have this 1/0 Yoshino, which is a bond to this Vanilla. It's a 5/5 Natsumi Vanilla. And then the Yoshino also gives the Natsumi 3k on attack, and also top check, top mill. So kind of pack filler, but there's a lot of cards in this set that specifically reference Yoshino and Natsumi's relationship, so this is just one of them. This crewmate bonds to a level 3 double rare origami, which is a really weird card. Hopefully we can pull it in one of our packs so I can talk about it, but I'll definitely talk about it even if we don't pull it. But otherwise, this bond doesn't really do that much. Not sure why this is a card, honestly. Okay, we have this level 0 Kaguya, 2 more other characters, plus 1k, base 2k. When she gets reversed, we can reveal up to the top 3 cards of our deck, and then if we did reveal any, we can add up to 1 Kaguya or Yuzuru, so any one of the sisters. Add any of them into our hand, and add any one of those names into our hand, and then discard 1. So if we did want to go with a predominantly sisters-based deck, this is going to be a good way to hand filter and get into our valuable pieces like the level 1 climax combo or the level 2 anti-level bomb in order to get our level 3s. But do be wary that if you do miss when you top check, you still have to discard a card. So you only want to play this Kaguya in a deck with a lot of hits, a lot of the sisters. Okay, this 2/1 Miku, kind of weird, kind of dual-purposed. 2/1 Miku on attack against the level 3, she gets 4k1. And then when she direct attacks, you can clean stock a character from your waiting room. So I guess it's a good way to apply soul pressure while forcing a counter off against your opponent's level 3. But then if you don't have anything else to do, you can perhaps pay out a clean stock with this 2/1. Or no, pay out a dirty stock with this 2/1. Maybe you triggered a climax the turn before. And then you can just get that stock right back with a refund when she direct attacks something. 2/0 event, it's a brainstorm actually. Choose one of your characters, they get 2k, and then both players mill 3. And then if the total power of the cards you milled is higher than the total power of the cards your opponent milled, you can salvage 2. So kind of an unreliable way to plus, but at the same time, maybe if you get a bit creative and you know your opponent has like a climax left in their deck and it's like really small, maybe they have like 1 or 2 card deck and they left it there intentionally in that state because they have a climax left, you can use this and force your opponent to mill the rest of the deck. And then maybe if you mill like a level 3, like a 10k, that will be enough for you to be able to get that salvage 2 off. Probably a pretty niche event, but there will be times when you can actually probably just win the game off this, honestly. Okay, and then for our next rare, we have this level 0 Toka and Yoshino. This card is actually a pretty cool card. If she's in the back, if they're in the back row, then they give your front left and front right slots 500 power. So not a very common effect, right? Normally we have front middle 500 or just assist front 500 to the characters in front, but this card gives your left and right slots 500. Her other effect, or their other effect, is when you play Climax, you can pay 1 and top check up to 4 from the top of your deck and add any character. So this is a good way to convert your extra stock into more hand. Also gives you a bit more deck speed. Really good if you want to play a level 1 Climax combo that doesn't mill your deck. For example, the level 1 Yoshino combo in this set doesn't mill your deck. Only salvages. So if you did want that extra source of mill, or if you wanted a way to convert the extra stock you generate in your deck into more hand, this is definitely a card to look out for. Okay. Oh, there we go. We pulled this double rare origami. This is... I'm not even exaggerating when I say this is one of the craziest cards that Bushiroad has ever printed. Now let me tell you guys what this card does. This is a 3/2 with 3 soul. And its first effect is if you're level 0 and there is a blue card in your clock, this card gets -3 levels and -2 cost in your hand. Which means you can play this at level 0 for no stock. This level 3, you can play at level 0. Now obviously there has to be some significant downsides for being able to play a level 3 with 3 soul at level 0, right? And there is. So let's go on and take a look at the rest of her abilities. At the beginning of the Encore step, if you're level 1 or lower, she bounces back to your hand. So if you play this turn 1, she just goes back, right? And then her last effect is, if your level is 1 or higher, this ability does not activate. On play, you can put a card from your hand into your clock. If you don't pay the cost, put the top 2 cards of your deck into your clock. So, that basically translates to, on play, we have to choose a card in our hand and clock it. If we don't, we have to clock the top 2 cards of our deck. So either way, if we play this for 0 cost, we're going to be clocking ourselves. Now, we can consider that to mostly be detrimental, but there might be some fringe cases in which that's actually a positive. For example, let's say you got hit to 0-3, turn 1, you clock for a turn to 0-4, and then maybe you play the origami to clock yourself twice to 0-6, and maybe you play another origami, or you play like a Riki or something. Basically, a lot of effects at level 0 that we run have clock effects that are beneficial, because taking damage at level 0 isn't always necessarily a bad thing. And same thing with this origami. Now, you do take 2 damage, or you have to take a damage from hand. So obviously those aren't very ideal. But if you want to get creative, if you want to get a bit insane up in here, try to build a deck with 4 of these origami, and then let's see how that goes, right? So this set does have a couple of cards that specifically reference this 3/2 origami. Besides the Kurumi Bond that we saw earlier, we also have this 2/2 Kurumi. Now this 2/2 Kurumi is front 1000, has a climax combo with a standby, where at the start of your encore, you can discard a card to search your deck for a character, or for any character. And then her last effect is, at the beginning of your climax phase, choose one of this particular 3/2 origamis you have, and they get, this activates up to once per turn. When damage dealt by this card is cancelled, burn 1. So, specifically what Bushiroad designed this package to do is for you to clock yourself to level 1 by playing this origami at level 0, playing her standby to standby her out, and then at the beginning of your attack phase, the Kurumi gives the origami cancel burn. So that's the intended interaction there. Obviously, the origami, since she is 3 soul, very likely to cancel even in your opponent's first deck rotation, but it kind of just gives you an extra insurance in case that the origami's swing does cancel. You get to burn 1. Very, Very unique profile here. Very unique profile. Alright. And then for our rare for this pack, we have this 1-0 Yuzuru. If you have another 1-0 Kaguya, she gets 1000 power continuous. When you play any wind climax, reveal the top card of your deck, and then it's a level 1 or higher card, add it to your hand. And this does include events. So for example, you can run the, if you top check the 2-1 event, you can add it to your hand still. In the on attack, give one of your other characters 500 times the number of your other characters on the board. So if you have a full board, she can give 2000 to one of your other characters. Now the 1-0 Kaguya that this card refers to is this one. She is a back row. So her effect is your front middle character gets 500 power. When you play a wind climax, she gets the following effect where until the end of your opponent's next turn, she gives all of your copies of this particular user 2000 power. So her, alongside her, will bring the user up to 6000 on your opponent's turn. And then she is a tap self salvage brainstorm. So this is intended to be like the level 1 or part of the level 1 line for your sisters deck. There is a level 1 climax combo as well for the sisters, but this gives you a way to just get extra value off of playing any win climax, and this is going to be one of your options for brainstorm as well. Okay, 1-0 counter that has on play pay to heal. Very weird card. 1-1 Toka, which gets really big potentially. It's the same as the level 1, I believe her name is Glinda from Ruby, from the Ruby trial deck. 1/6k hand encore, and then whenever one of your other characters attacks, she gets 500 times the number of your other characters. So if she attacks last, you can potentially get her up to 10,000. A good way to just spend one stock and be able to reliably kill something mid to early game, turn after turn. $4K beater and 2/5 base. If you're 2 less stock, plus 1/5. We have this level 1 Toka climax combo. During your turn, if you have another character, she gets 3k. So she goes to 7k since she is base 4. On reverse with a book, you can discard a card to activate the following effect twice. Reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, and your opponent chooses one event or character from among them, and then you add it to your hand, and then mill the rest. So it relies on you reversing your opponent, and your opponent gets to choose your target from 2 cards. Not a super great card. If you did want to build a Toka themed deck, I would probably suggest we go with the Toka Doubler from set 1. That also basically needs to either reverse or have an empty lane, but it's a lot more reliable than this Toka, I would say, especially since your opponent gets to choose what you add to hand. Not super great. Okay, and then our rare for this pack is this level 1, which gives all of our level 3 Tokas 2k. So the level 3 Toka in question is this one. So this is a 3/2 Toka during our turn plus 4k. On play heal, and it has a climax combo. So if we have the 1-0 Toka on the board alongside this, this Toka on offense gets up to 13/5 base, which is very respectable. She also has, the level 1 also just has innate global 500, so 14k even, without a climax. And then her last effect is, when your characters trigger check a book, you can pay 1 and salvage a character from your waiting room. So clearly meant for the 8-book Toka deck. Basically, most of the climax combos that they're introducing are trying to push some sort of profile like 8 bar, 8 standby, 8 book, 8 wind. So this Toka really wants to incentivize you to run this level 3 Toka alongside any of the level 1 book Toka climaxes. To finish up talking about this level 3 Toka, the climax combo with the book, this one, is on reverse. If you have 4 or more other characters, you can discard 1 to burn 3, and then look at the top card of your opponent's deck and leave it there or put it to waiting room. So it does require a reverse, but if you have this card on your board, The Toka is on attack going to be a massive 15,000 power, right? 7.5 base plus 4k from herself, plus a 1k one from a climax, that's 12.5. Global 500 is 13, and then her effect giving the 3-2 Toka 2k during your turn goes up to 15. So if you can get those reverses, if your opponent has reversible lanes, your Toka is probably going to be able to get reverses. So a triple Toka backed up by one or two of these back rows is definitely going to be extremely damaging. Almost halfway through our first box. Here we have a climax. This is the climax for the level 3 twins. Okay. And then our rare for this pack, very, very good card. 3-2 Toka. On play, top check 3 and add 1. Oh no, sorry. On play, top check 3, put them on top of your deck in any order and then bounce one of your opponent's characters. And then, on attack, if you have 4 or more other characters, you can pay 1 and put a character from your waiting room to the bottom of your clock. So you actually have to clock yourself for this. Pay 1, clock yourself from waiting room to mill the bottom 4 cards of your opponent's decks, and then burn X equals the number of climaxes milled. So we call this kind of like an icy tail effect, except it's optional, and you can basically always do it since the cost is so quote-unquote cheap. Obviously, taking damage is not ideal, but if this is your final turn and you're not 3-6, it's basically free, right? And then the on-play top check 3 rearrange alongside the bounce will really help you out in being able to control your damage numbers on the swings, and as well as prevent any defensive counterplay that your opponent might have. Very, very, very solid card. Okay, we talked about the Natsumi. Okay, so this is our next double rare, 1-0 Kurumi, another wild card. 1035, during our turn plus 2k, when she is sent to the waiting room from stage, you can discard a card and look at up to the top 4 cards of your deck and choose up to 2 level 0s that you see, and put them on stage rested, and then put the rest in waiting room. So the idea is you have this attack over something on your turn, have it die on the defense, and then you get to mill 4 and potentially get to +1 by summoning 2 level 0s. Now obviously if you don't get to see any level 0 characters, you just minus, and if you only see one level 0 character, you kind of ±0. Generally speaking, the level 0s you find won't be super useful, but if you find something like a Brainstorm, it might be pretty good. Alternatively, if you run this Natsumi, for example, that we talked about earlier, where she has the effect where you can discard a card and sacrifice yourself to salvage anything, this can be kind of like an indirect way for you to get advantage if you do run a high number of level 0s and are able to consistently see 2 level 0s off of the top check 4. You definitely want to run some number of this Natsumi to be able to convert that level 0 into actually something that you want from your waiting room so that you can play it. Very cool card, very interesting concept, honestly. 2-5 Toka counter, and then we use this card's backup. If your opponent has a climax, you can give one of your characters in battle 2k. So it's a 4-5 backup if your opponent has a climax. So maybe you want to protect something high value like the origami. You use this when they play a climax, and the origami, if you only have one, they get up to 15k. If you have 2 origamis, they're 12k base, and then with the Toka counter, it gets up to 16.5. So at this point, we're reaching like fairly large numbers. So if you do want a power backup, definitely consider this one. And then for our rare, we have this 1-0 Kotori, front 500, and then when your character's trigger check reveals a soul trigger, you can choose one of your characters and they get 2k for the turn. Last effect, tap this card and give one of your characters 500. So this would go really well in decks that run a lot of climaxes that have soul triggers. So like Pants, Standby, Wind would be pretty good to play this card in if you are looking for just that big source of extra power there. Okay, this level 3 Kurumi, pretty cool card. Level 3 Kurumi, during our turn, 1000 per every other character, so she gets up to 13.5. On play, we can clock from waiting room one of our characters, And if we do, we can draw 2, discard 1, and then clean stock 2 characters from waiting room. So if you did want to have a way to kind of maybe dig for an extra climax, but you don't want to commit the 2 stock you would need to play a level 3 that cantrips, this Kurumi might be something you want to consider. A lot of finishers in Data Life have on-play heal effects. The level 3 Kurumi standby, the level 3 Toka, the level 3 Natsumi. Honestly, most of Data Life's finishers heal on play. So if you don't have the climax, maybe this Kurumi can just be the right fit, right? You essentially get to pay 0 stock in exchange for taking a damage. But then if your finishers heal anyways, maybe that can be a trade-off that is worth considering. Okay, and then for our rare, we do have the level 2 Kurumi standby combo that works with, that has synergy with the level 3 Metatron, level 3/level 0 origami. Pretty weird. Okay, this 1/0 Miku is kind of weird. During our turn, she gives global 1000 to all of our other characters. Start up, pay 4, and rest this card to choose one of our opponent's characters, and then burn X equals that character's soul. So, while the cost isn't very practical, if you're just looking for that extra reach at the end of the game, and you just happen to always have enough stock to be able to pay for extra stock, this can be an extra way to deal 1 or 2 damage. Otherwise, probably pretty niche. 0/0 Miku. On play, you can pay 1, discard 1 to top check 3 and add anything. So a good way to maybe try to discard climaxes alongside searching for climaxes. And then when she dirt attacks, +1 soul. This Miku is, if you want mill, this Miku, you definitely want to consider. She has 2 effects. Start up, pay 1, top 2 of your characters. If you have 2 or more Celestial Spirit or Date characters, mill 3, and then draw a card. So pay 1, tap 2 characters, mill 3, draw a card. So that essentially goes through 4 cards. Her second effect is pay 1 and sack herself to top check up to 4 and add any character you see and mill the rest. So her by herself, she allows you to essentially mill 8 cards if you want. Kind of reminiscent of the Ichiga Brainstorm from Data Life. You guys will have seen that card a lot in the 8 standby decks. The Ichiga is very powerful because there's a lot of good Ichiga targets, and she is very selective mill and also allows you to control your deck size very well. This Miku can potentially serve a very similar purpose if you guys do want some mill power in your decks. Both of her effects allow you to mill a bunch, and also the tap 2 effect is a guaranteed plus actually. It's a draw 1, but it is still a guaranteed plus nonetheless. Very, very cool card. Okay, and then our rare for this one is on play. We can discard a card, and if we have another character, you can discard a card to search our deck for a 1/0 Yoshino, and then add it to our hand. The 1/0 Yoshino that she searches for is the double rare Yoshino. The double rare Yoshino is a climax combo that allows us to either salvage on climax placement, or we can shrink one of our opponent's level 1 or higher characters. So choose one of our opponent's level 1 or higher characters, and then they have to replace it with a level X. They have to replace it with like a level 0 if you swap a level 1. If you choose level 2, they have to swap it with a level 1 or lower, etc. So she allows you to just consistently be able to get multiple copies of the Yoshino by her on-play effect. And then the level 0 Natsumi's second effect is when you trigger a Goldbar, you can discard a card to top check up to 2, and then add up to 1, and then mill the rest. So again, really focusing the set on kind of like the archetypes. Natsumi and Yoshino really are pushing the 8 Goldbar archetype with her level 3 combo and then the Yoshino's level 1 combo. And this Natsumi will allow you to consistently be able to pitch any Goldbars that you trigger in the middle of battle, and also give you additional deck speed and filter through her ditch effect. Speaking of the level 3 Natsumi. This is our 4th double rare for the box. Level 3 Natsumi on play heal. And on attack with her Goldbar, if you have 4 or more other characters, you can pay 1, discard a character to activate the following 2 effects. The first effect is she becomes unaffected by opponents. She cannot be targeted by opponent's effects until the end of your opponent's next turn. And also until the end of your opponent's next turn, the character facing this card gets -2 soul, and then you burn 1. So she gets hexproof, -2 soul, and then you burn 1. So this might, for example, do pretty well against Escanor from 7 Deadly Sins. That deck's game plan is to bounce your characters and then get direct attacks and also swing for a high amount of damage so that the Escanor can swing for 4 to 6 times. Obviously, very, very lethal finisher. But with the Natsumi effect, if you can get to level 3 first and play 3 Natsumis and activate all of their climax combos, your Escanor opponent is going to be scratching their head for sure. Because they can't bounce your Natsumi to get the direct attack. They're also going to be -2 soul, so the Escanors are not going to be swinging for their full potential as well. So if you're looking for a way to kind of go for like 2-turn lethal, Natsumi is a pretty consistent way to do so. As long as you can field multiple copies of her reliably. Because she also burns 1, you can probably assume that your opponent going into your next turn will probably not be 3-0, so maybe you can get off a 2-turn kill there. But maybe if you really hate Escanor, look into this level 3 Natsumi for sure. So level 0 Toka, on death, pay 1, clock yourself to top check 4, add up to any level 1 or higher card. So it's like on death Fuka 0, except instead of discarding a card, you pay 1 and clock yourself. So it is a hand advantage card. And then this level 0 Kaguya, it's a tap 2 brainstorm to search, and then on play, if you have 2 or more others, draw 1, discard 1. So the twins, the sisters, they do have 2 different brainstorms they can choose from. You can choose the tap 2 search brainstorm, or you can choose the level 1 Kaguya, that is the salvage brainstorm. You probably want to go with this one because she also does have those extra effects that synergize well with your other level 1 game. But otherwise, this is just a generic search brainstorm. Our last rare for this pack is this pretty normal origami. It's a drop search, but instead of drop search, pay 1, discard 1, you pay 1, discard 2. And then you get to search 2 cards. So, honestly, this effect is really, really good. Like, really, really good. You take 2 clean cards out of your deck. If you have multiple level 2s and 3s during your early game that you don't want to play, this origami allows you to potentially just search for 2 copies of your climax combo just on 1 card. So that's just very, very valuable. Like, the amount of value that this card will get in your 1 to 2 deck slots in your deck, per copy, it will go miles more than just a regular drop search. Like, and then even if your hand is like pretty good already, if you know you have another copy of a card you want in your hand, you can always just pay 1, discard 2. Maybe they're like one of those cards are something you want, and then you can just search another copy of the card that you discarded anyways. So really good way to deck thin, really good way to get multiple copies of your climax combos, and just a really solid card overall. Okay, our 5th double rare. Level 0 Kurumi double rare. This is a cool card. When she becomes reversed in battle, you can put the top card of your deck into clock, and if you do, mill 2, and then salvage up to 1 level X or lower character where X equals the total level of those cards. So, if you milled a climax and a level 0, you get to salvage a level 0. If you milled like a level 1 and level 3, you get to salvage a level 4 character. But most importantly, this is a way for you to get advantage without paying stock. Notice that the cost is only clock yourself, right? And by milling 2, if you mill any character, you'll always be able to salvage that character because you salvage level X or lower where X equals the number of total level milled, right? So you'll always be able to salvage whatever character you mill at the very least. So it's very, very unlikely that you whiff on this effect. So if you want a way to be able to really aggressively attack early game while having a fair insurance against kind of like losing your entire setup or not getting resources back, the Kurumi is a great way to do so. Because she activates on reverse, it also kind of dodges any hard removal that isn't exactly 500 power. So even if your opponent's bomb or hard removal option is 1000 power, if they tie, the Kurumi is going to get reversed. They can still maybe like bottom deck your Kurumi, but then the Kurumi will still get to activate by clocking herself and milling 2. Because the Kurumi doesn't need to like put herself into another zone. So if she gets reversed, she will basically always resolve. So very, very reliable option there. Okay, My Little Shido. Those that have Data Life Set 1 will know My Little Shido very well. It is 2 different events in Set 1, and here we have another variant of My Little Shido. This 2-0 event. Tap one of our characters, and then we can choose one of the 3 following effects. We can pay 1 to burn 1. We can give one of our characters 3k, and then put this into stock. Or we can salvage any character. So unlike the level 1 variant, the 1-0, where we can only salvage, I believe it's like a level 2 or higher. If the trade-off for this being a level 2 event is that we can salvage anything. If you want to deal some extra damage, it's also just a 1 stock ping 1. Or also, if you want extra stock, this is a way to convert your excess hand into stock. So a very, very flexible card there. For our rare, we have this level 1 Origami Climax combo. 2 or more, plus 1k, so base 5/5. At the beginning of Encore, if you have 2 or more other characters, and the character across from this either is reversed or doesn't exist, you can search your deck for up to 1 Data Celestial Spirit and add it to your hand. So kind of like the pseudo fever effect. If you can get reverses, this is pretty decent. But given that the Origami is only 5/5 base, and with the prevalence of standby decks, or unreversibles like the 1/1 Nino, you're probably going to have a bit of a trouble sometime getting multiple resolutions of this card off. Drink some water. Almost through our first pack, just a couple. Almost through our first box, just a couple packs to go. We'll see if we can pull a second foil. Okay, this Toka is a very, very good bomb. Honestly, one of the best bombs. It's really up there. And this Toka is a level 0 bottom deck bomb. And then the character across from this can't move. So these 2 effects combined make it so that the power barrier on this Toka makes the Toka become 500 power. And 500 power, as you guys know, is the perfect number to be if you want to play a hard removal. Because you want to be smaller than your opponent's character that you're trying to reverse, so they can activate their effect and hard remove them, instead of sending that character to the waiting room. Right? Alongside the fact that this has anti-move, this card alone is an excellent reactionary option against so much of your opponent's level 0 plays. Let's say, for example, you're playing against 7 Deadly Sins. Their turn 1 play is often the level 0 Gil Thunder Chaser, the 3500 that can run across and really mess up your day. If you play the Toka in front of the Gil Thunder can't run away anymore, and you can just remove it reliably with the bottom deck effect. If your opponent plays the level 0 Escanor, the Aqua profile, on death, pay 1, clock yourself, top chart 2, add 2, the Toka will handily get rid of the Escanor as well, putting that to the bottom of their deck, and they no longer get their potential +2. So this Toka is just, it answers almost everything, right? Even if we look at this Kurumi right here, she has 1000 and activates on reverse, so there's not a lot of things that can stop this Kurumi from resolving. But not a lot of things is not everything. And this Toka, in particular, can stop this Kurumi from resolving because she is smaller than the Kurumi. So then the Kurumi will never get reversed, and then she will get sent to the bottom of your deck. If you were looking for kind of like an anti-meta option in your Data Life deck, highly recommend considering this level 0 Toka. Very highly recommended. Okay, this level 3 Miku is kind of weird. But maybe useful in the future. So, on play, during the turn that she's played from hand, at the beginning of your attack phase, blow up the entire board, so all characters on both sides just get sent to the waiting room, doesn't target or anything, so it gets back hexproof. And then if you do, this card gets 3 abilities until the end of your opponent's next turn. During opponent's turn, she gets 2000 power. She has Bodyguard, or otherwise known as Great Performance, so if she's in the middle, your opponent has to front into her if she isn't reversed. Even if they're on the sidelines, they have to choose to front this card over directing. And then also, this activates up to once per turn. When damage dealt by this card is cancelled, you can burn 3. So, we're going to be coming into a format with maybe Overlord. With the Overlord 2 just got announced as of the recording of this video. So they have 3/2 Eins that is hexproof. We have Slime 3 with their dual back row that gives their entire board hexproof. We have a lot of decks that are going to be really, really annoying to deal with. This Miku might be your solution to that. Play this Miku, blow up everything, and then you're going to be able to essentially either stick 3 or burn 3 with the cancel burn, and your opponent has to deal with this 11k before counter Great Performance character. Now, something that is kind of cool with this Miku in particular is it does have synergy with this 2-1 counter! Since the effects that she gets, including the cancel burn, last until the end of your opponent's turn, if you use this during your opponent's turn to back up your Miku, then she can burn 1 from the reverse, and if they cancel the burn 1, you get to burn 3, right? And because the Miku is a bodyguard, if you use the event counter on the Miku and she is not reversed in your center stage, middle slot, your opponent's characters all have to front into the Miku. So this event burn 1 on reverse activates multiple times. Every time your opponent crashes into the Miku, they have to burn 1. And then if any of those cancel, then you get to burn 3 with the Miku effect. So if you want to play a deck with this Miku to blow up your opponent's board at level 3, highly recommend running multiples of this counter. Maybe even like 4 of these, honestly, because they work so well together. Okay, this next uncommon is honestly one of the most strong cards that is seeing play in Data Live decks. This level 0 Origami is a drop salvage. On play, pay 1, discard 1, salvage a character, and then give one of your other characters 1000. But also on play, reveal the top card of your deck, and then if it's a level 2 or higher, put it into your stock. So it's a free way to get some extra stock. Pretty reliable, like a pretty good 50-50 if you run a deck with a lot of level 3s. So maybe the Yamai Twins deck, if you run a bunch of level 3s, or like a standby deck where you naturally run a ton of 2s and 3s. This Origami is at worst always a drop salvage, but also sometimes you will just incidentally be able to get that free stock for basically no cost. And then worst case, you just reveal top, and if it's not level 2, nothing happens. So you still get a free top check, which is just very valuable. Okay, and then for our rare, we have this clean cut Yuzuru. It's a 2k clean cut. And then on play, if we have another character, we can pay 1 and she gets 3/5. So if you're willing to pay 1 stock, she goes up to 5/5, which can sometimes even reverse level 1s and definitely reverse most level 0s. But obviously paying 1 stock is pretty hefty, so you really want to consider your options if you want to pay 1 stock for this, especially since stock early game is just so tight, and you can probably use the 1 stock for other more useful things. Another instance of just archetype support, so this one's your Yoshino. On attack, give one of our other characters 500 times the number of our other characters. And then on attack, all of our characters get, when we trigger a gold bar, we can draw one discard one. So again, doubling down on the insurance of climax flooding. If you trigger gold bar in an 8 gold bar deck, you attack with this first, you'll always be able to get rid of it. Okay, and then our rare for this pack is the level 1 climax combo for the 8 wind deck. So this level 1 Yuzuru is a 3/5 base, but during our turn, if we have all traded characters on the board, all Data or Celestial, she gets 4k, so a 7/5 base. On attack, you can top check and either leave it there or mill it. And this is not tied to any climax combo or anything, so she always has this effect. But she does have the climax combo. On reverse, we can salvage a character. So fairly generic fairly generic effect. But if we combine it with a power pump source from the where is it? From this level 1 Yuzuru, we are able to get the Yuzuru, this climax combo, to quite high numbers. So 7-5 base, 1k1 from the climax, and then we have 2k from the power pump if you have a full board from this 1-0 Yuzuru. So she can get up to 10-5 pretty easily. And then if she happens to be in the middle slot, then this Kaguya Brainstorm will give her an extra 500. So probably just an easy 4-off if you are playing the 8-win deck. You do need reverses, but she can get pretty big. Okay, this Shido. This Shido, it's not good, but it's definitely one of the most flavorful cards in the set. And that's what I like about Weiss. They never fail with a flavor. This Shido is a 2/1/3K. And it has 3 effects. We'll go over the second effect first. The second effect, which has a big paragraph of text. On play, put the top card of our deck into waiting room, and if that card is a character, and our waiting room has the 8 spirits that he's conquered, so 1 Toka, 1 Kotori, 1 Origami, 1 Yoshino, 1 Kaguya, 1 Yuzuru, and 1 Miku. Well, not exactly just 1, but you need 8 different cards, 8 different characters, with 8 different of those names of the spirits that he's conquered. If you mill the card from the deck, it's a character, and you have the 8 different names, then you can put the top 8 cards of your deck face up underneath this card as markers. So you'll mill 1 from your deck. Okay, that's not... You'll mill 1 from your deck. If it's a character, and you have the 8 different names in your waiting room, you put the top 8 cards of your deck underneath him as a marker. As markers. So he'll have 8 markers. Continuous. If this card has 8 or more markers, he gets 17,000 power. So Shido goes up to 20k. And then at the end of your opponent's turn, put all markers underneath this card to your waiting room. So he'll be 20k for 2 turns, the turn he's played, and then your opponent's turn. At the end of your opponent's turn, all those markers go to waiting room. So like the best case scenario is if you have 9 cards in deck, or 9 or more cards in deck, and you know they're all clean. There's no climaxes there. Or maybe like even 1 climax. 0 to 1 climaxes in the rest of your deck. And they're all clean. You mill, and you're like, alright, I'm gonna get this sweet 8 card compression for my next refresh. And my Shido's going to be 20k, so it probably lives for 1 turn. That's the best case scenario. But you have to run 8 different characters' names, and they have to all be in the waiting room. I don't even know how to build this deck. You probably just have to find the best card, the generic best cards from like all of those characters. And then like you can play the Shido. Like this is such a cool card because obviously like he's conquering everyone and he gets super powerful from the harnessing the power of his all of his spirit buddies. But like, man, what a card! What a card! Okay, and then for our rare we have this level 0 Natsumi. It's a this card is actually pretty cool. Brainstorm, pay 1 tap self, top track 4. And then per climax you hit, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add anything, and then discard the rest. So like a top track 3 Brainstorm. But also attached to this effect is per climax you hit, and per top track 3 you activate, you also choose one of the cards among the remaining cards after you add one to your hand. So like if you top track 3, and you want to add this Yoshino to your hand, you choose one of the remaining cards, and then you put it face up underneath the Natsumi as a marker, and then you discard the rest. And then, at the beginning of your climax phase, if this Natsumi has 3 or more markers, you put all markers underneath her to your waiting room, and then you can put the top card of your deck into your stock. So, if you cumulatively hit 3 Brainstorms off of this Natsumi over the course of the game, you'll get a stock refund. If you happen to hit 3 off of 1 Brainstorm, you'll get a stock refund because it activates every instance of the top check 3. So if you want to run a top check 3 Brainstorm, this is basically just a way to have extra compression, extra stock regeneration with no strings attached, honestly. Very, very powerful card. And then our last pack for the box. We do already have 5 double rares and 1 foil. We'll see if we can pull a second foil. If not, that's okay. And it is not. But we do have a card we haven't seen before. This 1/0 Kurumi Uncommon. On play and on death top, you can mill 3. And then it's a level 1 bomb. So if you did want some extra deck speed, you know, this is a good way to just mill 6 for free, right? Play this, mill 3, attack into a level 1. Both of you are reversed. She gets sent to the waiting room. You get to mill 3 again. Very simple, very effective. If you need mill and you have red, consider this Kurumi. And then our last rare is the level 2 Kaguya, part of the level 3 early play Kaguya and Yuzuru package we talked about, the anti-level bomb. And that was our first box. We opened 5 double rares and this nice looking origami. I definitely want to build some cool decks with this. And on to our second box. So we've seen a good amount of the cards that we've wanted to talk about already. There might be a couple here and there that we haven't seen. But if we haven't seen anything that I still want to talk about at the end of this second box opening, I will go ahead and just show you guys anyways. Our second PR is this 1/0 Kotori. On play, she gets, or on attack, she gets X times the number of our other characters times 1000. So on attack, she gets 4k if we have a full board. And she has a soul trigger. So definitely intended for like the 8 choice deck, right? It's a good way for you to just get another costless beater if you trigger a choice. Otherwise, you might be always salvaging just like level 2s or level 3s. So if you want an external beater, you want some more triggers in your deck, definitely the Kotori. First pack of second box. Oh, we already have our first foil. This is the triple rare Gabrielle foil. This goes with our level 1 Miku here. Very nice foiling here. It's kind of like cubes or prisms. Hard to see on the camera, I'm sure, unfortunately, but yeah, this looks very nice. If you're a Miku fan, you definitely are pretty impressed by this triple rare, I would say. Okay. And then we have one of the level 1 twins. Okay, first double rare in this box, we did pull a dupe. We have the level 3 Natsumi, Hexproof, minus soul, burn 1. Okay, so we haven't pulled this card before, I don't believe, but this is another piece of the 8-book Toka deck. This Toka is a tap self salvage brainstorm, so off to a good start. Her second effect is, if you have another character, you can pay 2 and clock yourself to play the level 3 Toka book into your climax area from the waiting room, actually, and then you can choose one of your characters and they get 1000. So Proof of Love is this book here. It climax combos with the level 3 Toka. So ideally you have something like this as your back row and then maybe like 3 Tokas front row, right? So this effect is pretty good because it allows you to always have a way to find the climax combo. Obviously, the Toka is on play heal, so because she doesn't cantrip, and it is a book, it might sometimes be difficult to find a copy of the book in your hand. So this is just extra insurance. If you have 8 stock, you'll be able to pay 2 for this and still tri-lane the Toka, and you don't even need the book in your hand. So very, very nice. The clock cost is honestly offset by the fact that you just heal with the 3 Toka anyway, so you can definitely tell that they designed this whole package with the 8-book setup in mind. And because this gives an extra 1000 when you use the pay 2 clock yourself effect, you can make the level 3 Toka even bigger. Just like 16k. Like, your opponent is getting reversed. There is no helping that. Ooh, I do see a second foil, and it is a SR of the 1/0 Kaguya, the support brainstorm. Very nice foiling on this one. I think this one is a lot of chains, which makes a lot of sense because you do see that both of the twins, they do have that lock and chain on their necks, right? So the foil on this one I'm gonna do my best, but it does show like chains on the card, which is pretty cool. I always appreciate it when Bushiroad goes out of the way to make the foiling kind of symbolic of the character at hand, or just really unique. No, this is very, very intricate. Very, very nice. Okay, and then our rare is the 1/0 Twin Drive Miku. So unfortunately, since we did pull 2 foils, that does mean we did not pull any signatures from our 2 boxes. But we'll go through the rest of this box, see how we pull. Maybe, hopefully, we can pull some new double rares here to show off for you guys. Okay, nothing here we haven't seen. Alright, yes. Definitely wanted to pull this. Level 0, Toka and Miku. If you have 5 or more cards, she gets 2k. So she goes up to 3-5. And then at the beginning of a bonus attack phase, you can move this to an empty open middle stage. So this is basically Armor Runner from Attack on Titan. Perfect way for you to just have a reliable turn 1 play that can most of the time live. 3-5 on 2 lanes is oftentimes very difficult to deal with for your opponent. So if you needed Red Splash, or if you needed a consistent way to find a high percentage to live level 0 on turn 1, definitely consider this Toka and Miku. And just like a small bit of trivia, I might be wrong, but I think this is the only Miku card that is red. Okay, this level 1 Natsumi, again, a Goldbar archetype. When you play a Goldbar, she gets 1000, and you get on attack pay 1 Twin Drive if you want. And then also on attack, you can choose any of your characters and they get 15 for the turn. So you can buff her, or you can buff someone else. This 2-1 Origami. Uncommon, 2-5 backup. When you use the backup, you can pay 1 and stack one of your characters to anti-change one of your opponent's higher level characters into their waiting room. So it can help you dodge on reverse effects. It can obviously help you negate your opponent's early play. Pretty flexible. Depending on the meta, this might see a lot of value, or it might not see any value. So kind of think about what your deck wants to try to accomplish, and if your deck really wants to try to avoid reverses in a really reverse heavy meta, or your opponents are playing a lot of early plays that you want to stop or keep in check, this Origami is a good way to do so. Ah, yes! We haven't pulled this card, I think. I don't think we talked about this, yeah. Alright, perfect. 2-2 Kurumi. If you guys are interested in updating your 8 standby deck from set 1, you're in the right place. This is the one you want to look at. This 2-2 Kurumi, 5-5 base. Continuous, gets 1000 per every one of your other characters. On attack, pay 1 Twin Drive. And this is just, she has this effect, no strings attached, so she always has the Twin Drive. And then she has just generic character Encore. So, Twin Drive in a deck that wants to trigger a lot of standbys is really powerful. Because she not only allows you to keep your stock clean, but also she pushes more damage in terms of trying to trigger more. She tries to aggressively set up your standby board by being able to just trigger more, right? So it's a good way to have a sticky body. Her power level leaves a bit to be desired at 9-5 if you have a full board, but hopefully we can standby out enough things so that her relatively lower power doesn't matter. So definitely a card you want to consider over some of the old standby targets, like the old 2-2 Kurumi that just has 10k head on core, I believe, or the 2-2 Toka blue one, which is hard to defend without the access of the 1-1 Yoshino, which is on the restriction list. This is just probably the best fit in slot, or definitely one you want to consider. Okay, next pack. Okay, a new rare that we haven't seen. Perfect. We are seeing so many new rares in this second box. 1-1 Origami. Basic Realizer gets -1 cost while in your hand. If you guys don't remember what Basic Realizer is, it's the green 3-3 event. I believe it's 3-3. Green level 3 event from set 1, which is a -soul counter, right? So if you have this 1/1 on your board, she allows you to play that event for 1 less cost. So very, very nice stock save there. Basically refunds the 1 cost that you paid for the 1/1. She also is just a generic 500 level assist to characters in front. And also, when this 3/2 origami reverses your battle opponent, you can pay 1 and rest this 1/1 origami to salvage any character and bounce her, and then salvage it back to your hand. So this will help you refill your hand, because obviously if you're early playing origamis, they don't actually have on-play effects. If you play multiple copies of origami, chances are you are kind of dedicating a lot of resources by having to play 4 characters first, play the origami, and then play another origami, right? The climax you play for the climax combo also doesn't recover hand since it's a stock soul. So this is a good way for you to recoup hand, but also at the same time make the origami larger, right? If you have 2 origamis and this 1/1 in the back row, they become 13-5 pre-counter, right? And chances are you are going to be able to get a reverse off of one of these origamis on your turn. So you are able to pay the effect to maybe salvage a counter, right? Maybe you want to salvage one of the 4 or 5 token counters, salvage an anti-change counter, salvage the 2/1 refresh Kumi counter, or whatever else fits the situation at hand, right? So that can be very, very synergistic here. Obviously, this is like the intended interaction, the intended setup here, but she gets big. Definitely don't underestimate this card. If you have the right setup, she gets big. I'm talking about that counter in there. Okay. 2/1 Natsumi, the changer. Okay, this is the 1/0 Toka Sport for the 8-book deck. Yeah, at this point, I think we've seen most of the commons and uncommons that we've wanted to talk about, and probably just perfect. Ooh, look at this. So another new rare, and we just so happen to pull the right climax for it. Level 0 Kotori, on play if we have 2 or more others, draw 1, we can draw 1, discard 1. And then on climax placement of Gungnir, which is this door climax. We are calling it door now on this channel to try to avoid confusion for new players. Instead of gate, we are calling this door. On play of the door, we can bounce the Kotori back to our hand, and if we do, we can summon any level 0 or lower Data Celestial Spirit character in our waiting room and put it on the stage position that this was on. So it's a guaranteed +1 essentially, because you can bounce this and you summon something. So you're refilling hand and you get to +1. Honestly pretty cool. Honestly pretty cool. Let's say, like, maybe there is some level 0. I personally haven't built this deck yet, but like, there's a couple of cards in this set that really inspire you to run like level 0s, right? For example, the level 1 Kurumi, right? Inspires you to run more 0s. If you have the Kotori, you can maybe run... man, there's so many level 0s in this set that can potentially just be really good attackers with this climax combo. So I definitely wouldn't discount this climax combo out. At the very least, it inspires a lot of creative deck building, right? I think probably one good companion for if you want to run the Kotori combo would definitely be the Top Trick 3 add 1 Brainstorm. The Natsumi here, because the Top Trick 3 add 1 allows you to try to find more copies of the door, and at the very least she is also just a level 0, so like you can just have her in the back row and then just bounce to just summon the Natsumi, and then you can use the next turn and you just attack with your regular front row characters. Definitely has potential. Maybe not super competitive. I'm honestly not sure. I'd have to really brew with this card to kind of formulate my solid thoughts on it. Okay, we have the 1/0 Sisters. We have 3 double rares. No, 2 double rares so far, and we've pulled 2 foils, so we probably have 2 double rares left, maybe 3. We'll see. Perfect! 3/2 double rare Kaguya and Yuzuru. Definitely one of the standout cards in the set. Early play condition of the 3/2 is if you have 4 or more others on your board, she gets -1 level. 7/5 base, but she gets 3,000 during your turn. And then on play, you can put 2 cards of you can dish 2 cards, and if you do, perform the following effects 1 time each in any order. Heal and burn 1. But if you don't pay the cost, you choose one of the following effects and perform it. Heal or burn 1. Okay, so basically to put it in layman's terms, on play, you can burn 1 or heal 1, but if you discard 2, you can do both. Alright? So, super flexible card. If you want to just spam heal to get out of lethal range at level 2 against maybe something like Escanor or a really powerful finisher, you go for the heal, right? If you want to go for that extra reach at level 3, you have some extra stock, and you want to play your climax combos, but you have that 2 stock left over, you can play this and burn 1, right? If you want to do both, maybe you want to discard some climaxes, you can burn 1 and heal 1 by discarding 2 cards, because it's not restricted to characters, you can discard 2 of anything. Very, very solid card. And she is 10-5 on attack, not the greatest, not the worst either. 7-5 on defense, honestly, doesn't really matter. We always expect this card to die on the defense. But it's really just the on-play that matters, and then 10-5 on attack is... It's average, it's average. Very, very solid card. Easy fit too if you have any decks that run yellow, and yellow is one of the easiest colors to fit because there's so many good level 0 yellow options, like the level 0 Kurumi double rare, or the Nightmare or Queen Kurumi double rare from the Data Bullet Extra, the Riki, right? So really easy to fit yellow in any of your decks. Okay, and then the 2-1 anti-level is our rare for the pack. It's a Sisters pack. Couple packs left. Okay, gone through this Kotori. So if you really want power Kotori, she is your girl. Okay, and I think we finally found, we finally see the non-foil version of this foil 3-2 origami. So this is what it looks like if you just have the regular rare version, and this is the foil version. I do appreciate that they do have alt arts on some of these cards. Some of them don't. Like for example, like the level 1 Kaguya is the same as the foil, as the regular, unfortunately. But it's always appreciated when they do put in that extra bit of effort there. I can't remember if the Miku climax is different. Let's try to find the Miku climax real quick. If we've pulled it in this, we have not. Okay. If we pull it in the rest of our packs, we will take a look. Double rare origami. And then the back row saver. The standby for the 2-2 Kurumi. And then for our last pack, will we get another double rare? Will we pull this Gabrielle climax? It is not a double rare, but we do pull the Gabrielle. Okay, so great opportunity to showcase another alt art. This is the climax rare for the level 1 Miku combo. But if you want to get the triple rare, you have this really gorgeous Ido Miku triple rare. You can see the glow sticks on the bottom left. Very, very nice. Alright, and those were our 2 boxes. Our first box, we pulled a 3-2 origami as our only foil, and then we pulled 5 double rares. And then our second box, we pulled 2 foils and 4 double rares. We'll clean up this table for a bit, and then we'll finalize it, wrap everything up, show you guys some of the high rarity, the signatures I've pulled so far, as well as talk about any cards that we haven't been able to pull. Alright, we're back guys, and just to finalize everything that we haven't talked about, let's go over the rest of the box topper PR. So we pulled the Kotori and the Toka, but we have 3 more that we haven't yet pulled. We have this level 3 Miku. It's an early play actually, 2 or less, -1 level, and an on play search our deck for any character and add it to our hand. So it's a good way to bridge our level 2 game. We get to play a 2-so beater, and also get to search something that we might need to play alongside her, or maybe just our endgame level 3 combo. Very, very nice, solid card. This 1-1 Natsumi, it's a 2k backup, and also it's a memory kick counter. So really, really, really useful. Maybe you have a level 1 game that relies on having like a big board, and then your opponent, maybe they play 7 Deadly Sins and they're playing like the 2-1 Meliodas that resolves at the end of attack, right? Or at the start of Encore. Or you have the 2-1, or anything that resolves at the end of attack, or needs a full board condition, or activates at the start of Encore. Memory kit counters can definitely put in a lot of work. So it's very nice that Data Life finally did receive one. And it's a level 1 to boot, so you have the access to it earlier. And then the last promo for the box toppers, we have the Yuzuru and Kaguya 0015 during our turn plus 2k. And then at the start of Encore, either player's Encore, if we don't have another rested character in the front row, we can clock ourselves from top of deck to rest this card. So it's kind of like a pseudo Encore. You take 1 damage and then you get to attack with this character again. So kind of like a cheap way-ish to +1. Kind of like how the level 0 Kurumi double rare clocks yourself to +1. This also clocks yourself to +1, but it's a worse plus, and also not super reliable because it does require your other characters to also be reversed or non-existent. But those are the 5 box topper promos. As for the rest of the double rares that we didn't pull, we actually did talk about some of them already. So we have the level 1 Yoshino, the Climax combo, where you can either salvage or shrink one of the opponent's characters when you play the Climax and you have a full board. We have the level 3 Toka, on play heal during your turn plus 4k. On reverse, if you have a full board, discard to burn 3 and then top check your opponent's deck, leave it there or mill it. And finally, we have this new level 3 Kotori combo, also on play heal. Climax combo on attack with a choice. So kind of feeding into the 8 choice profile for Kotori. The level 1 Kotori from set 1 into the level 3 Kotori from set 2. On attack with a choice, you can pay 2 and discard a Data Celestial Spirit character. And if you do, she gets 1000 power and you can either burn 1 twice or burn 4. So pay 2, discard 1 on attack to burn is a very standard cost. But this particular Kotori needs to discard a character. But in exchange for not being able to discard events or climaxes, she has a dual mode, like a modular burn effect, where you can either burn 1 twice or burn 4 depending on the situation. If you're really trying to, like, for example, if your opponent's at 3-0, you might want to start with the burn 4 first. Maybe they're on a fresh deck. And see if that burn 4 sticks, and if that burn 4 sticks, then you have so many lethals down the road, right? Alternatively, let's say you're trying to finish off your opponent and they're at like 3-5 or 3-6 or like 3-4, and then you're like siding against the level 2, you can burn one side for 1 as well. You don't want to swing for the 4 because, you know, 4 is obviously more likely to cancel. But if you want to stick more instances of those small ping 1s, then you can do the ping 1 twice modular effect. Very, very, very nice way to just choose whatever is best for the situation. Now, it's kind of weird because, like, not weird, but it goes to show so many of the finishers in Data Life heal. The Toka heals, the Natsumi heals, the Kotori heals, the set 1 Kurumi heals, what is it? The climaxless finisher yellow Kurumi heals. So a lot of things heal, right? So maybe you want to try to fit in some top check effects. Maybe you want to consider the top check 3 Brainstormer. We can run the uncommon 3-2 Kurumi that clocks yourself, or not 3-2 Kurumi. Well, yeah, 3-2 Kurumi, the red uncommon 3-2 Kurumi to clock yourself to draw 2 discard 1 and clean stock 2, right? But whatever the case, a lot of healers in this set. So basically just pick your poison. 8 book. 8 bar, 8 choice, also 8 standby Kurumi, right? Alright, so now that we've talked about all the cards that we wanted to talk about, let's show off some squigglies. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to pull all of the signatures available. There are 9 of them, but I was able to pull a good amount. So, we have the level 1, or the level 0 Kurumi, which does come SP. We have the Kaguya and Yuzuru Yamai sisters, and this actually has an A and B form. So, because there are 2 characters, you actually have 2 different signatures. They are the same card, and they have the same, or they don't have the same set ID. One of them is 002 SPA, and the other one is 002 SPB. But for the purposes of deck building, they do count as the same card. So we have those 2 right there. We have we don't have the Kotori. We did not pull Kotori, unfortunately, but we did pull the level 1 Yoshino, the level 3 Natsumi. We have the level 3 Origami, the quote-unquote level 0 Origami. I really like her signature. Like, it's so round. Like, even the set 1-1, I think it just looks very aesthetically pleasing. Like, it's a very, very unique signature. The level 3 Toka. And the level 1 Miku. And Miku, the VA of Miku, she has like really good penmanship. Kind of reminds me of Kuroko from Railgun's penmanship. She also voices Beatrice. It almost doesn't even seem like they wrote it. It kind of seems like a font. So this is like very straight, very proper. And this is Miku's signature. So yeah, there's 9 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then Kotori also has a new signature from the Daily Life set. Again, you do expect to pull 3 SPs in a case of 18 boxes for Data Live Volume 2. So if you guys are cracking boxes or cracking cases, I wish you the best of luck in pulling your favorite Celestial Spirit. And until then, this has been Mike on the Tressa's Collectibles channel. Coming up, we will have our standard contents, deck profile, gameplay videos, the whole shebang. And yeah, that was really awkward, but let's keep that in. All right, see you guys. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.